The University of Toledo and the University of Toledo Alumni Association are honored to recognize and introduce to you the 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardees. These individuals have extraordinary accomplishments, impressive careers, and have all impacted the communities in which they live and work. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Arts and Letters is Ms. Patricia Levy, class of 1972. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the John B. and Lillian E. Neff College of Business and Innovation is Mr. Michael Chung, class of 1987 and 1991. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Engineering is Dr. Carmina Vittoria, class of 1962 and 1964. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Health and Human Services is Dr. Eileen Burson, class of 1990 and 1997. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the Jessup Scott Honors College is Mr. Brad Winbigler, class of 1998. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the Judith Herb College of Education is Dr. Lee Johnson, class of 1999. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Law is Mrs. Beverly McBride, class of 1966. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Medicine and Life Sciences is Dr. Jennifer Christner, class of 1995. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics is Mrs. Siping Anderson Huang, class of 1988. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Nursing is Mrs. Patricia DePompe, class of 1985. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences is Dr. Kelly Ragucci, class of 1997. The 2023 Distinguished Alumni Awardee for University College is Mr. Casey Cornelius, class of 2001 and 2003. The 2023 Edward H. Schmidt Outstanding Young Alumni Awardee is Mr. Joel Whitcomb, class of 2009 and 2011. The 2023 Daniel J. Saevig Blue T Awardee is Ms. Barbara Floyd, class of 1980, 1982, and 1989. And the 2023 Gold T Awardee is Dr. Martino Harmon, class of 1987, 1998, and 2013. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 55 minutes of getting to know our amazing awardees.
You want to hear what I'm working on these days?
I was trained as a physicist.
Currently, in my career, I co-chair the public art program for the city of Toledo.
I am the founder and president of a college speaking agency called For College for Life.
Well, I'm retired, and I've largely retired from serving on the boards and foundations that I formerly served on.
I also am a member of the executive committee of the Arts Commission.
First thing is I'm writing a non-scientific book, the title of which is Hidden in Plain Sight. It's about World War II, Mussolini, and the internment camps in southern Italy.
I had several innovations, and I was able to design super simple but very effective machine. But on the other side, nowadays I'm more proud of what I have been doing on an international stage.
I also travel the country speaking myself, mostly on college campuses.
I think a legal career gives one an excellent background for understanding the issues that face all of us.
Besides that, I'm writing a scientific book on super exchange interaction between magnetic ions and growing ferrite materials at the atomic scale.
Abortion, gun safety, diversity, on and on.
I have done a lot of work in the field of public art, and so I'm proud of all of my projects.
I'd like to talk about them in a way that brings understanding rather than divisiveness. We have way too much divisiveness in our world and need more understanding.
So basically, I'm a financial service guy in my professional career.
I'm a treasurer at a Fortune 100 company, Aero Electronics, and that really means I'm responsible for financing the company and investing our capital.
Last September year 2022, I retired at the age of 60, and from this week I started a new career.
Really, my career's been, and I can trace it back to some advice that I got from, I believe he was dean of the business school, or maybe enrollment, Kent Hawkins.
Over 30-some years since I graduated UT MBA school in 1991, I've been mainly working for global financial service institutions, including a few years of independent consultants, still mainly for the global corporates.
And I remember having a conversation with him, and he sort of prompted me to think about it, right? Just, am I only doing the thing that's familiar, or would I want to, at least experience something connected to my degree? And it was wise advice.
I am honored to serve as the Vice President for Student Life at the University of Michigan.
I currently serve as the Senior Vice President of Professional Development with the American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy, and I'm the Chief Academic Officer.
And that really allows me to inspire, to set a vision for a staff of 1,400 people who support students in many different ways. And I'm the leader of the division, but I really like to help support my staff so they can support students.
In that role, I help to serve the education team, the research team, and our student affairs team. So it's, prior to this, I was in, academic pharmacy my entire career.
I currently serve as the Senior Dean for the Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas.
Currently, I'm the president of Rainbow Babies and Children's and McDonald Women's Hospitals. And in that role, my job is to assure that our physicians and our staff have the resources that they need to provide care to women and children across not only our 18-county region, but quite frankly, around the world.
My entire career has been in higher education.
I had a great experience at University of Toledo for my medical school, and then when I was there actually as faculty as well. It just gave me great, I think, practical experience, really, really excellent positions. Some of my teachers there, I remember to this day. I actually tell stories about a couple of them when I interact with other students and other learners. So it was just a really fantastic foundation for my career.
It includes 4 different institutions. I am the Senior Vice President for Siena Heights University, located in Adrian, Michigan.
I had a great experience at University of Toledo for my medical school, and then when I was there actually as faculty as well. It just gave me great, I think, practical experience, really, really excellent positions. Some of my teachers there, I remember to this day. I actually tell stories about a couple of them when I interact with other students and other learners. So it was just a really fantastic foundation for my career.
In my first semester of grad school, I worked for a professor who asked me early in my time what I enjoyed doing. And I remember that he enjoyed teaching, so I said, I enjoy teaching as well. And he said, great, you're going to teach your first class next week, Wednesday at 8 a.m., Wednesday at 8 a.m. Well, it turns out that Wednesday was September 12th, 2001 at 8 a.m.
Due to some dramatic event in my life, which is my classmate in college was killed in 1989 democracy movement in Beijing.
I like to throw darts and disobey Mother Nature, putting irons where they don't belong, at sites that don't belong. That's the whole point of it. And that should spur a lot of new research, interest, new materials, new technology, you name it. And I'm very proud of that. I'm extremely proud.
I realized quite early that I had a great curiosity, and that resulted in opening doors in many directions.
You know, it's interesting. I actually started my career as a faculty member.
And that stimulated my desire for equality, democracy, and human rights in China.
I wanted to make things fairer for people. So many people are born without the opportunities that others have. Wanted to create fairness wherever I could. And I also wanted to minimize conflict.
In the US, in Europe, in Asia, I traveled to those places often. I'm not only just working for human rights and democracy in China, but also try to support the people of other countries, other ethnic groups. We united together because I still felt by our effort we could push the world for the better, for peaceful and harmonic lives.
Right now, I am a professor of early childhood at the University of South Florida in Tampa.
I retired from the University of Toledo as University Archivist and Director of the Ward M. Kennedy Center for Special Collections in late 2017.
When given the opportunity of doing something unusual, I have approached it with the attitude of, oh, I think I can do that. And then I would figure it out and do it.
Since I graduated from the University of Toledo, I've worked in a variety of fields. I've worked in corporate, I've worked in factories.
And since that time, I've been keeping busy doing some consulting work and also doing some community service in local nonprofits.
The reason I'm being honored for this award today is the fact that I spent a lot of my free time working with various veterans organizations around the area.
When I retired, I said, okay, let me turn the page over from scientific stuff into something I'd really like to write for a long, long time. So the first book I wrote was about World War II again in Naples area, seen from a child perspective, namely me. And I go over to memoir, basically.
I love the process of learning. So I never feel like I've settled on my life's work. I thrive on new projects. That's my life.
So my first time ever speaking to a college audience was September 12th, 2001 at 8 a.m. at the University of Toledo. And at the end of that experience, he said, you know, if you got through this one, they'll all be pretty easy.
And the second book is an immigration book where I settled in New York. I followed my career and all that. The most fun part is about the bocce court in Boston North End. And I participated in their tournaments. I made some bundle of money. I was pretty good at it.
I actually live in Korea and study abroad from my point of view, study in the University of Toledo, both undergrad as well as a graduate school. I thought I was living in a metropolitan city, Seoul, where I'm living. However, the University of Toledo, some people say it is a small school in countryside. Well, but that's not how I saw.
Well, I think of the campus life, I do think this is a very good international society. You have seen lots of international students.
My career has been sort of some combination of finance and strategy, sometimes pure strategy, sometimes pure finance.
In my time, decades, in Toledo, especially on the campus, I feel enormously welcomed by the American students and the faculties. So I really want to say thank you at this time.
I became first executive officer of AIG, mortgage insurance company in Korea. My mission was to establish a company, establish the mortgage insurance ecology in Korea.
In 1968, I was on the art committee for the Student Union Board, and we had an arts week.
I worked hard, just straightforward, try to get a license from the Korean financial watchdogs. However, after a year later, I realized that it's impossible. Then I start finding the other way around, meaning I was able to get in touch with the government monopoly insurance company.
We had comedian and activist Dick Gregory come and speak. We had artist and filmmaker Andy Warhol here. On the Friday evening, we had jazz musicians Charles Lloyd and Keith Jarrett. And to finish the entire week,
I was to make a business joint business agreement with Korean government insurance entity together with AIG with a 10 years term and sharing the mortgage insurance business going forward in this country.
We had songwriter, musician, Jimi Hendrix play in the field house. I was part of that. It was pretty cool.
AIG was able to obtain a new insurance license, mortgage insurance license in Korea, initiated a business 3 years after I became an AIG officer.
You know, I always been hell-bent on putting out the knowledge base as far as I know, okay? And that's really my drive in the whole my career.
For me, the University of Toledo truly was life-changing because if not for the University of Toledo, I don't know where I would be, but I know I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Actually, I think that really applies to me as well. So what if I didn't come to the University of Toledo during my college years? What would I have been?
It greatly influenced my life because I married one of my professors.
I was fortunate to experience college with my then girlfriend, now wife, 24 years. So many of our Toledo memories are collective memories, shared experiences.
We liked the people that we met here and saw a lot of potential in Toledo and decided to make this our home. And we've been very happy that we did.
I came to the University of Toledo for one primary reason, and that is to be able to go to school with my now wife.
I have a memory that's very memorable, but not particularly fond.
I'm a first-generation college student, and so to be given the opportunity that really Toledo has instilled in me, just the skills and the confidence. Toledo really opened my mind and opened doors for me.
It was my first year in law school, and I was one of 2 women that graduated from that class. And my first year, I received a B in the property class. I knew it very well.
I always appreciate what I have learned, and I always appreciate people around me at that time in the community, how much they have helped me, took care of me. Therefore, I was able to learn a lot more than what I could have imagined.
So I asked the professor why I had received a B instead of an A that I thought I deserved. He said it was because I was a woman and he didn't think that the other professors would give me an A. They had all given me an A. And fortunately, we no longer should have to deal with that kind of thing.
The activities around leadership development are something I'm very proud of.
I'm most proud of being general counsel for the Andersons. I worked for them for 30 years and they were outstanding, and I was general counsel for over half that time. It's an ethical, wonderful company that treats customers, employees, owners fairly and does good things in the community.
I was the beneficiary of someone else doing that for me, whether that was at Toledo or early in my career. I'm now at a point where I can influence kind of how we go about talent development.
The University of Toledo gave me a tremendous opportunity to learn about leadership as a student. And my student leadership experiences, whether it was in my fraternity or student government or the Black Student Union or honorary organizations, really set me in a pathway for this opportunity. I didn't know it back then, but I came to the university not confident. I was a first-generation student. Didn't know if I'd make it through my first year of college.
For me, it's not just about hiring the most technically expert person. It's about finding a team that works well together. It's about empowering them, and it's also about setting expectations when you do empowerment.
My leadership skills and abilities helped give me confidence, and it made me realize how much I loved higher education and how much I loved being a contributor in helping the whole higher education environment in the University of Toledo.
The University of Toledo definitely had a very positive influence on my career.
We sold a company at one of my prior companies, and in the process, it was a divestiture. Was able to negotiate very hard based on that knowledge and confidence to save $100 million for our shareholders.
So it really paved a way for me to eventually go into this role. But I started my career in corporate sales.
And the world of acquisitions, as many people may know, it's a group of sharp people. But I'd stack my UT education against that any day.
It inspired me through my work with my colleagues, my peers, and as well as the professors that I had to go on and to do a residency post-graduation.
And I was in sales for 9 years, and it was a noble profession, exciting, but it wasn't my passion.
Also, the opportunity at the College of Pharmacy specifically to be a teaching assistant in the third-year laboratories made me realize that I wanted to teach one day, that I was it was a passion of mine and I enjoyed it. And so it kind of gave me that first instinct to want to think about academia.
And I realized, pretty early on that I needed to get back into higher ed and back at the University of Toledo. And 9 years later, I was able to start in admissions.
I didn't really know that I was going to choose academic medicine until a little bit later in life.
I felt like I needed to make a difference. I realized that I needed to do something that I knew every day I was making a difference in someone's life. And I think the big moment for me was when I was in sales. I lived in New Jersey, and I was working with a volunteer program for young black males, an enrichment, Saturday enrichment program. And one of the volunteers, he was a retired teacher. His name was Bill Tyler. I'll never forget, he's passed away, but I'll never forget this. He came up to me one day and he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm in sales and corporate sales," and I was real proud to say that. And he looked at me and he shook his head and he said, "That's a shame. You missed your calling." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I watch you every Saturday with these young men, and I watch how you inspire them, and I watch how you're excited to be with them." He said, "This is what you should be doing every day." And that's when the light bulb came on, and I started to really make an intentional path to try to get back to the University of Toledo.
I started volunteering in a hospital when I think I was 14. That was the youngest you were allowed to volunteer.
And when I started at University of Toledo, that was my very, very first job in medicine after I completed my residency training. And my boss there was really essential in kind of helping me get on this path.
The very moment I walked through the hospital doors, I just felt a sense of this is where I belong.
I went into pharmacy for the reason I think a lot of people go into healthcare fields is I always knew I wanted to help people in some way, shape, or form.
Like many people, I thought about that I wanted to be able to help people. I liked science. For some reason back then, it just seemed like a logical conclusion.
I enjoyed the world of pharmacy, chemistry, biology, and kind of merging those two. And I specifically I'm an extrovert, and I enjoy talking with people and helping people. And so ambulatory care, outpatient care, where I could have direct patient care was the route that I ended up going.
What I loved about academic medicine was that my day was never the same. So I saw patients, I had meetings, I might do some medical education research. It was just very varied, and I loved that.
If not for my time at UT, I believe my life could have taken a very different course. It instilled for me a love for patient care. It instilled for me the prospect that one has to work hard and persevere at whatever one chooses.
And there I also coordinate the early childhood doctoral program.
I want to thank the trustees, the administrators, and the faculty of UT for creating an institution worthy of the ideals of education. A place that teaches knowledge and experience, the knowledge and experience necessary to be productive, as well as enabling students to persist and become successful.
I also hold an affiliate faculty status in learning design and technology, as well as qualitative research. And primarily, in addition to my teaching responsibilities, I engage in participatory research where I explore young children's civic engagement through multiple literacies, and I study the intersection of technology and the pedagogy of inquiry in the early years, focusing a lot on how children appropriate digital innovations.
The one project or program that I really reflect upon really culminates everything that I had hoped is our Rainbow Center for Women and Children, which coincidentally is celebrating its 5th year anniversary this month. And we built the center in an area called Midtown Cleveland, which is very impoverished, has a very high rate of both maternal morbidity and mortality as well as infant mortality. And we built the center to assure that women and children in our community had not only great access to health care and to providers, but that we were also able to add additional services to the program.
The professional accomplishment that I am most proud of is being a respected peer reviewer and team chair for the Higher Learning Commission. I also served the Institutional Actions Committee, mentored peer reviewers, team chairs, and helped create the Financial Review Panel. My experience includes nearly 50 accreditation visits that included 2-year and 4-year institutions, public and private, for-profit, not-for-profit, liberal and professional arts, historical Black, tribal, online, specialty, and faith-based institutions. In 2018, I received HLC's highest award, the Service Award, and was also elected to the Board of Trustees and serve on the Strategic Planning and Finance Committees.
So things like a medical legal aid clinic, a pharmacy, behavioral and mental health services, dental, eye care, a lab, all those things that families could do so that truly became a one-stop shop and really supported them to drive better health.
I initially developed a really deep interest in the experience of young children when I was at University of Toledo, because I had the opportunity as part of my preparation to be part of a transactional play-based assessment team. And I became captivated by the role of play as part of the assessment methods that were being used to explore children's cognitive and social emotional functioning. And that really also combined with exploring and seeing how technology was being used in classroom settings to help enhance young children's educational experiences led to a foundation of wonderings that I then had about how we could further explore these digital innovations.
What I am very proud of is that it does appear that we're beginning to move the needle, that we're seeing some really nice improvements in the rates of both maternal morbidity, mortality, as well as infant mortality.
And that's become the passion and focus of my career over this period of time.
I would say my experience at the University of Toledo has impacted my life for the fact that it's helped me find my passion in life.
I mean, it's always so empowering and exciting for me to see the joy of young learners as they're thriving and trying to make meaning of the world around them. And so this level of excitement and engagement is really what fosters my ongoing work.
And at the end of the day, that's what healthcare really is all about. It should be great and equal access to healthcare for everyone, and the center is exactly that.
A lot of that is taking me into international contexts where I lead up studies on integrating some of these innovative technologies into early childhood teacher preparation.
I served in the military from 2002 to 2006 and then immediately started at the University of Toledo.
The gravity surrounding the university pulled me in many different directions, and both enhanced as well as challenged my life and the experiences I've had.
I was able to help be a part of founding this University of Toledo Student Veterans America chapter here at the University of Toledo, and that led to a lifetime passion of service and giving back to the veteran community.
Probably the most important thing I've been doing is in 2019 I was asked by Jarko Kook, who is the managing editor of the University of Toledo Press, if I would be willing to write the sesquicentennial history of the university. So that was just such an honor, and so I spent almost 3 years in the archives researching the history and writing it, and the book was published on Founders Day in October of last year.
And when I graduated in 2011 with my MBA, I settled into my career working, trying to build a career, but I always felt like I was missing something, and I felt like I still had a passion to serve. You go from being in the military where you're serving your country, having a purpose, kind of feel lost a little bit. I found that working with the veteran community and giving back really helped fill that gap.
I sort of fell into the profession of being an archivist. Most people have no idea what an archivist is, but it really is one of the most important positions in society.
And myself and a few other post 9/11 veterans started a veterans group called Task Force 20, where we help veterans, especially post 9/11 veterans, overcome the effects of PTSD and depression through physical fitness.
Because an archivist decides what documents, what resources will be preserved in the future that will allow you to write the history of the past.
As I look back, I just have so many fond memories.
As far as when I was in graduate school, I had the opportunity to have a class with Dr. Margaret Hopkins, on emotional intelligence, where you kind of learn like the idea behind being a servant leader. And that point really hit home being in Dr. Clinton Longnecker's Lead and Organizational Change class, where he showed us, hey, it's not just about being a leader, it's about being a servant leader.
The one I'm about to share is a very special one. And it is for Steve Rips, my minor advisor, member of my dissertation committee, law professor, and graduate of the higher education program.
There is one component that particularly stands out, and it even comes to mind all the time when I think about University of Toledo. And this seems like sort of a funny thing to sort of align with sort of the fond memory, but it has to do with when I was coming back for my dissertation defense.
Steve passed away suddenly in spring of 1998, and I'll never forget how sad I felt. Several faculty members asked to take Steve's spot and join my dissertation committee.
The time of a dissertation defense is sort of mixed emotions, because you're celebrating the hard effort and time and energy you put into your dissertation research. You're also anxious about this time when you're going to be defending the work that you've been spending so much time and energy involved with. It's the coming of an end of a program of study that you have dedicated so much of yourself and to try to achieve and accomplish your goals.
In doing so, it allowed me to remain on track in completing my graduate doctoral degree. A humbling experience that was simply amazing and evidence of the high caliber of UT's faculty and that students come first.
At the time, I was actually living in Charleston, South Carolina. And so I had 2 young children, family, so I was going to be flying in for my dissertation defense. And at that time, I got on a connecting flight and I made it to my connecting destination, and my then flight to get to Toledo was canceled.
Thank you, Steve.
I went into panic mode because it was one of those things where I had planned it exactly, where I would arrive with a few hours before my defense was scheduled, and didn't know what to do, but worked with a lot of amazing people at University of Toledo. The faculty on my committee, the department staff, all came together to reorganize their schedules. So I was able to get another flight in for later that day, but it required everybody to change any plans that they had.
When I got my acceptance from the University of Toledo, I was actually on a deployment in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We received a fax saying I've been accepted to the University of Toledo. And that was my first real dealings with the Military Service Center. There was a woman that worked there named Eileen Berg, and she just went above and beyond for the veteran students. I was like, man, what great service. So I had the honor of later working for 4 years in the Military Service Center, helping our veterans, and that was an honor. But through starting the Student Veterans America chapter, just meeting the over 400 veterans on campus, finding that shared experience and camaraderie, just being part of, not just the camaraderie things, but also make an impact on the community as well.
It was like this coming together of everybody to ensure that that final experience for me really continued to be this celebration moment, even as stressful and crazy making as all of that was. And it sort of encapsulated for me what that whole experience was for me at University of Toledo.
My fondest memories are when I was an undergraduate student and I worked on the Collegian, the student newspaper. And at that time, the paper was put out 3 times a week. And it was not unusual for us to be at the printer at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning trying to finish up the paper.
I first learned about fraternity here at the university, and that has forever changed my life. I am a proud Pi Kappa Phi. I am a proud member of the Beta Iota chapter of Pi Kappa Phi at the University of Toledo, and I carry that banner and flag proudly.
I remember my experience with my fraternity, with Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and there were so many wonderful moments, whether it was mentoring other younger students or the programs and events that we were able to pull together, or even the step shows, which is a real great, exciting time.
You know, the friendships that I forged during that time have been with me for 45 years.
Unfortunately, I can't do that anymore, but those memories were great. But it wasn't just the memories, it was the connections.
As I reflect on my own experience, whether it was by social fraternity, Kappa Delta Rho, KDR, Leadership UT, which I think has been rebranded something, but there's a similar kind of experience that encourages students to get very involved, but also as part of that is kind of formal coursework. I was fortunate to be president of student government.
When I was a student and I'd, put all this effort in the paper, and then I'd walk through the student union on the way up to the collegiate offices, and I'd see somebody sitting there in the chair reading something that I wrote. It was like, wow, I'm helping to inform them, and that just made it all seem worthwhile.
I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for faculty and staff that really poured into me and cared about me. Dan Abrahanowitz, for example, Student Activities Office and a later Dean of Students, Joyce Mathis from Career Services, or Melvin Terrell, who ran Minority Affairs. But there's one that I really want to focus on, and that's Dr. Lancelot C.A. Thompson, at which the student union is now named after Dr. Thompson.
While in law school, I worked part-time for the Dean of Women as assistant to the Dean, Dean Catherine Schwab. She was wonderful, very caring for students, and she was calm no matter what happened. So her influence and role model really helped me, and I think helped all of those who knew her.
Dr. Thompson was the first Black vice president at the University of Toledo and the first vice president for student affairs, a position that I have now. So he was a mentor to me during college, but because he was also a fraternity member, I stayed connected to him for years after college. And he really inspired me to finish my doctoral degree. He pushed me a lot to make sure that I stayed on track. And when I became vice president at Iowa State University, he was one of the first people that I called. I called my daughters, my dad, and then I called him. And I remember both of us crying on that call. And unfortunately, he passed away a few months after that, but I was honored to speak at his service. So Dr. Lancelot C.A. Thompson, I believe he is probably the single most important person that helped me and is a big reason why I'm in the role today.
I'm going to share some names that hopefully some folks know as well. Jerry Van Hoy, an advisor both as an undergraduate but then also as a graduate student. Marietta Morrissey, Leslie Wong, who I worked for in graduate school. I feel bad leaving anyone out, so please forgive me if I forget anyone. Barbara Coventry, Barbara Chesney, Ray Jackson, Kate Abuazi, Brad Chilton, who's no longer at the university but is still someone that I look up to and admire quite a bit. Jackie Lang. These are professors that I've had all along my experience who encouraged me, who challenged me, who didn't let me accept anything but extraordinary.
Let me be honest to you and to your audience. I applied to Penn State. Why? Because I was from Western Pennsylvania, a football country in those days, okay, in the 50s and 60s, okay?
I remember the professor. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the name. It was one of the graduate class, banking class. And at that time, we had a huge problem in savings and loan industry. It was a huge, probably some may not remember. Yeah, I am old.
Basically, they said they got my application. In those days, the tuition was $500. So they said to me it was about $10,000, $5,000, something like that, 10 times more. I said, I'm a resident of Pennsylvania. I've been in Pennsylvania 5 years. I said, no, you're an immigrant. You're in other words, you're not a citizen, a resident of Pennsylvania. I was really upset. So I went to my advisor at high school, and he said, well, apply to Toledo. They will accept you. I applied to Toledo, they sent me in. They were beautiful. No SAT. My English was terrible, but anyway, thank God they let me in. Okay, that was the break I needed.
However, the lady was able to deliver not only the textbook itself and a lot of practical information about the financial service, especially the banking. And of course, she was delivering, she's from the banking side, but she was delivering that if you guys want to go to the financial service, banking is the base. And I learned a lot of good practical insights. So she really made me narrow my first career down to the banking.
The second break I needed, I met the chairman of the electrical engineering department.
Dr. Michael Mannheim gave me a passion for Shakespeare that has continued through my life.
Met this chairman. He was a beautiful person. His name was Robert A. Chipman, and he came from Canada, and he was the chairman of the department. And he and I, first of all, his background was not in magnetism. So I would go to him and say, here's what I learned today about magnetism. So good, keep going.
I was an English lit major. As a result, my advisor, Dr. David Smith, was my advisor and also my specific advisor on an independent study I did my senior year.
Finally, when I graduated, my master's degree over there, I had 3 schools accepting me. One was one in Cleveland, a good school, and the technical school, engineering school. The other one was Clemson and Syracuse, and then Yale University, out of the blue sky. So he said, come and listen to me. These are fine engineering schools, the other ones. But Yale has a new program, applied quantum physics. You may want to go there. Besides that, you'll meet interesting people there.
There was Dr. Al Gordon, who proceeded to teach theater. He was a theater director, and he taught extraordinary 20th century courses on theatrical plays.
Well, you're going to be like the black sheep over there, but don't worry about it. But somehow you have a way, personality that doesn't affect you. So I would suggest you go there. And he was my inspiration forever, never.
John Botts was a painter at the museum I was fortunate to work with, and Dr. Dan Hannon, who was the costume and set designer for the theater department, who also was most creative.
I would be remiss if I singled out one single person, because every single faculty member, it was clear to me that they had a commitment and a passion for their particular subject matter.
I think a lot of them, that'll be harder to list, like Dr. Cole, he was a wonderful person. And there were a lot of professors in the department. My own advisor, Dr. John Simon, he's a great person.
All of them were so supportive of the students, whether it was pre-class or after class hours, whether it was, this was before the internet, but just being willing to meet in the library for additional questions. I just felt that sense of the faculty at UT cared deeply about their students and wanted to ensure our success. And all of them were just so incredibly smart.
He really cared about me because at that time, I know other students, because they were so socially active for China, some of them could not even continue their study or such. but the professors here, they express sympathy, and of course all my colleagues as well.
Bob Wendt, who was my major advisor, certainly played a pivotal role in not only mentoring me, but he was the person who guided me through my research journey. He taught me to think systemically.
There was a pediatric cardiologist, and I believe his name was Dr. Hennessy. And I remember that when he would go around and he literally knew every person's name in the hospital. I'm talking from the in the cafeteria to the housekeeping staff. He knew everybody's name, and I remember I remarked, like, how do you know everybody's name? And he said how important that was, and that everybody was a member of the team, no matter what their job was, and that made a massive impression on me.
Nick Piazza, who is another professor, is the person who gave me the opportunity to do my very first presentation at a conference. I'll never forget that.
Dr. Rosha McCoy, who was my boss for many years there until she left. And she was the one who really, I think, saw that I liked to teach and helped me do a fellowship in all about teaching and learning. And that completely set my path towards what I'm doing right now.
Martin Ritchie is somebody actually who I still stay in contact with regularly. He provided tremendous mentorship and guidance for me. He's one of those people who just had unwavering support and belief in my potential. So even in those moments where you are questioning sort of your, success or capacity, he really was just the ultimate supporter. And really helped you get to that finish line throughout the program, and just a wonderful human being.
So if it hadn't been for her and kind of seeing that and fostering it, rather than just saying, no, you'll see patients all day, but really like cater to me as a human being and what she saw that I might like and be good at, I have no idea if I would be here today if it wasn't for her. So
the person who was always pivotal to everything we did was Sue Martin, who was the department secretary. She was that supportive staff person who not only created an inclusive and nurturing environment, but she created a safe space where we could grow and develop.
I want to acknowledge all of the excellent faculty members who influenced my pathway.
I particularly remember Lori and Vince Morrow, who I know had been at the university for many years, as well as Curtis Black. Those were the three that I remember spending the most time with.
Those faculty members include Steve Katsinas, Dan Merritt, Jack Maynard, Frank Horton, and Steve Rips.
They truly cared about all of us, spent time mentoring, providing career advice, giving us insights, not only teaching, but just outside of just life, balancing work and life, all of that. So I felt probably the closest with those three.
For those faculty members that influenced me, Dick Perry, Ron Opp, Penny Poplin-Cassetti. All of them challenged me in a variety of ways that taught me to listen, engage differences, and gain from long-term perspectives.
The one person that had the most impact on me was the faculty member who I first encountered on my very first day at the University of Toledo in 1976, and I will never forget this. I remember everything about it. I walked into Dana Auditorium, and there's like 200 students in there. And the professor walks in, and he takes this little piece of paper out of his pocket, unfolds it, looks at it, puts it back in his pocket, and then for the next 50 minutes proceeds to give the most spellbinding lecture I've ever heard. And it was about Columbus coming to the Americas. And that was part of history we all knew. But the way he described it and the way he told that tale made me realize that history was not just something that I could do, I could read in a book, or that I could enjoy. But it was really something that I, as an individual, could do professionally. I might be able to participate in becoming an historian for a career. And he taught me that history is not just facts and dates, but it's as much about the future as it is about the past. And exploring that past can inform so much of how we move forward in the future. He taught 19th century history, something that you wouldn't think was very applicable, but boy, every day I discover something about what's happening that I remember, similar analogies to something that happened, in 1780s. Dr. William Longton was the most important person because he taught me that history really is relevant and it's exciting and it's important.
The most important thing, in my opinion, for a young man of anybody is to have peace of mind. Okay, that means treat other people as you would treat yourself.
Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Every day we have an opportunity to make a difference. We have an opportunity to inspire others and to really just contribute and to give back.
How do I know this? I truly don't. I think the only important thing is just letting each other know that we're here and reminding each other that we're part of a larger self.
Take on challenges, work with others, never stop learning, and continue to be creative and be kind.
My advice to students or recent graduates would be to strive to become the best you can be, reach out, be bold, and think higher.
The sky is the limit.
And that's a message that I talk to students about all the time, is the ability to use what they've learned, use their talent to give back to help and inspire others, and to follow your passion.
My advice to students would be, don't be afraid to try something different.
I think the University of Toledo was so good about allowing me to try things.
Take risks while you have that safety net of your faculty and colleagues to help you learn and grow.
Don't be afraid to engage early and often.
Experience different cultures, to get involved on campus, to make a difference. It's large enough to have everything that you need, but also it's a university that can feel small once you develop networks and relationships.
Really seek out the mentors who can guide and inspire you to engage in that translational work so that you can take those theories and the ideas from your coursework and find the authentic applications to make meaning and make a difference in the community around you.
If I was giving advice to a student, I'd probably look for somebody like myself, maybe someone that served in the military for at least 4 years, someone that's starting college at 22 and 23, and they just feel like they're behind, they got to catch up.
You really can do anything you set your mind to. Like I said, I passed gross anatomy by 1 point, and now I run a medical school.
Take advantage of the opportunities you have here. Don't be in a hurry to get through here. If you're starting your career at 28, 29, you'll be just fine. So don't worry too much about it.
You have heard this probably millions of times before. The life is like a marathon.
I hope they could treasure this opportunity of study. There are great faculties here, and also there are great students, classmates, ones I had, and I believe they are still available to you. And this is also great lens for you to see the international societies through a lot of international students. And in particular, you could feel the sense of warmth and the help you could get from this society.
It's not really about passing an exam, passing a class. That's not the point of college.
It's really about communication. So a lot of your job, no matter what it is hinges so much on communication.
Really embrace the learning and what it kind of tells you about yourself.
Oh, I need to learn the facts because that's what's going to be on the test, and this is what I need to learn. But really what you need to learn is how to communicate with people.
Life is a lifelong learning process, and if you give yourself a good start, you can enjoy it forever.
I would say the most important thing is to remember that you have to make your educational experience. You can't expect the university to make it for you.
Study hard. It will pay off in ways you cannot imagine. It not only helps you find what you want to do, but it helps you to be successful in it and to enjoy your life.
The university provides the resources, but it's up to you at this very unique time in your life when there are all kinds of possibilities out there for you to shape your educational experience. Get involved in student activities that are relevant and meaningful. Get involved in your community. Learn skills that will be useful to you in your whole life.
Plan your pace. It's not that next month I don't get a job and my friend just got a job, oh, I'm dead. No, it's not like that. And secondly, when you're running the marathon, of course, everybody wants to become the first to finish, but this is how I see marathon is the game against to others. No, it is against to you.
I'd just say make sure you keep a continuous focus on your development. So whether that's an advanced degree, which will apply for some, or professional certification.
So don't compare yourself to others. You plan ahead and make sure how your plan works periodically.
Focus on work hard, play hard. Right? Get involved on campus, but also treat education as an opportunity, really to kind of dive in.
Know your strengths and lean into those throughout your career.
I'd also say do that early. Go for it early, because as life goes on, it gets a little harder.
Revise, change, so that you are on your pace going forward.
You want to look for positions that allow you to focus on those strengths and passions. And don't be afraid to take advantage of opportunities that come along that fit into those into those strengths.
You can do anything that you want to, that you set your mind to in life.
Take care of yourself and then take care of your neighbors. Okay, it's very simple.